Right, so I thought I'd do another review, try at least anyway. A film called The Dark Knight Rises. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's a film about Batman. I saw it the other day, and you know, I've got mixed feelings about it because, like, you know, like a lot of people are sort of, you know, I mean, I saw a lot of people reviewing the trailer, and there was this one really funny one of a girl that was watching the trailer and she was crying because she was, like, you know, that excited. It was just bloody hell, man. You know, like, there was this one with these two guys, and one of the guys sounds like he's oh god, man, that sounds like he's just like a foghorn or something. Like, I'm very kind of like with Nolan. You know, like, I don't consider him to be, I mean, he's not a bad director, but the writing in some of his films, oh God, man. I mean, there's a difference between an intelligent script and a script where the characters basically talk like they're intelligent, which is what happens in most of Nolan's films. And I mean, I'm you know, I'm in the minority here, but I just hated Inception. I thought it was, I mean, the first time I watched it, I loved it. The second time, I thought it was the biggest pile of pretentious crap that I've ever seen. You know, I mean, seriously, I'd rather watch Existence or Videodrome. Videodrome's a classic. Cronenberg, that kind of thing, you know. Inland Empire, Mulholland Drive. I love films that fuck with my head. I love it, you know. But, you know, I know films that do it properly. They use imagery and camera techniques and stuff. They don't use dialogue. I'm going to crack on with the review of The Dark Knight Rises. Okay, spoilers now, right? I haven't seen it yet and you want to see it. Two really big plot holes in this film. Pretty big ones, about the size of one of those things you get in the floor, you know, I can't remember the name, you put it out, the floor, the ground. First thing, spoilers, like, set after 8 years after the last one. And it opens with a beginning where they're sort of still mourning over the death of Harvey Dent. 8 years. I mean, that just seemed a bit strange to me. I mean, that would be almost like a direct follow-up, because that's how the last one ended. And Bruce Wayne now walks around with a crane, which rhymes. Bruce Wayne with a crane. And he's like, you know, he's like an old man. He's stumbling and he can't walk properly, and he's basically been a hermit for 8 years after what happened last time with him. And eventually he's like sort of back up again, pumping iron and all that sort of stuff. No, he doesn't even pump iron or anything. He goes to the doctor. Sorry, spoilers. Like, goes to the doctor. Right, doctor says you have no cartilage in your leg, Mr. Wayne. So I would avoid going skiing. And, like, the doctor leaves the room, and Bruce Wayne jumps out the window and just fucking carries on being Batman. I mean, come on, man. And like, another plot hole that is seriously stupid. Yeah, another spoiler. Bane, who sounds like Sean Connery, with something shoved up his ass if he was narrating a kid's story in the 60s. like, he breaks Bruce Wayne's back and sends him into this tunnel. Sorry, spoilers, right? Sends him into this tunnel, and he has to climb out of the tunnel or something. And he's got a broken back. He's lying down. He can't move. He's like this. He's like, you know, lying down. He's like, oh, and she only having the shit kicked out of him by Bane, and the guys in the tunnel explain the backstory and all that kind of stuff of, you know, what, you know, who Bruce Wayne thinks Bane might be, and basically they just sort of like hang him up with some rope, push something into his back that's sticking out, and leave him there for a bit, and then not long afterwards he's jumping out the cave, jumping out the tunnel, hopping around. Catwoman was a bitch. I suppose she was meant to be a bitch, but it's like she's completely untrustworthy, but you know, like she's an evil bitch, man. I mean, don't get me wrong, Anne Hathaway was probably, you know, really good performance, really good, very, very good, but she was a bitch, man. And you know, like, I don't know quite what to say about that. I mean, like, you know, she sort of like gets away with all this stuff and everything, and like, you know, I'm just gonna leave it at that. Yeah, it's the film itself. Like I said, it's just like so many plot holes. You know, more than a cheese grater, and it's a very violent film for a 12. It's quite ironic that I import films from the US that aren't released in this country because of the wussy censorship that we have here. But you know, I mean, in this film, like, you know, Bane strangles one guy, breaks people's necks. There's stabbings, shootings with little blood spurts coming out, things like that. Just guns firing everywhere. About 60 or 70% of it is violence. You know, 60% of it, or 70% of it is violence. And obviously they made it 8 years, an 8-year gap, because Heath Ledger, who pretty much made the last film as good as it was, as the Joker, they were trying to cover it, you know, he doesn't even get mentioned in the film. And Bane is like, you know, you don't mess with me, you know. And yeah, I mean, I must admit, he is kind of a badass, you know. I mean, like, you know, like, he's the kind of villain where if people are in the same room as him, they want to run the fuck out. They don't want to, you know, they're terrified of him. There's some bizarre scenes in it, man. Really weird scenes that I was like, what? What's going on here? All of a sudden, we're like in this weird, bizarre courtroom with the Scarecrow suddenly coming out of nowhere, exile or death, and people have to skate across a huge bloody pond of ice. So, what's going on here? And I mean, I know what the theme is. The theme's about Occupy Wall Street. Like, the last one was about the War on Terror. First one didn't really have a theme. It was more of an epic. It was about facing your phobias. And that kind of, you know, comes full circle in this one, in a way. But I don't know what to make of it. And, you know, if people think that these are the definitive Batman films, they aren't. because I am a little bit of a Batman fan myself, and I've read some of the Batman comic books and the graphic novels and by Frank Miller and stuff, and you know, like, each director each time they've got their interpretation of it. Like Tim Burton had his gothic interpretation of it. Batman Returns is still my favourite Batman film, by the way, to date. Joel Schumacher had his campy crutches and bat nipples and all that sort of stuff going through it, and it was just an Arnie saying, "You're not going to put me into the corner," and all these one-liners. Chill out, freeze, I am for freeze, Mr. Freeze, which I thought was quite a cool film, quite funny. Yeah. And Nolan comes along, he's a serious director and just does like a dramatic thing, his drama thing, you know. And it's just kind of overblown, man. It's overblown, it's a mess. You know, you could cut easily 1 hour out of this film and it would make more sense to me. I mean, the scene when they're in the tunnel, or this hole underneath the ground, I mean, that was stuff just going on. That was like a film in itself, you know? Don't know, I don't know whether to like it or not. I don't know, but I was amazed at the amount of violence in it for a 12. I was amazed at it. I mean, you know, like people having their heads bashed up against things, and I mean, the body count is high in this film, man. Loads of people die, trust me, loads of people. So I guess I better cut this short. This is one of my Insomniac reviews of a film, in which I just kind of tend to blather on and not make sense. But I thought I'd just give it a bash and review the film anyway. And just let me know what you think. And goodbye, Darklings.